Hello and welcome to Fintan and Spraggy's football podcast. My name is Ben Spragg, and this is my esteemed co-host, colleague, and good friend, Fintan Hand, better known as Easy Days Online. How you doing, mate? All right?
Thank you very much, Benjamin Spragg. I'm not gonna lie. This is the moment I've been looking forward to for over 3 years. I know we had our moment on Twitch where we did a little bit of content, but the YouTube content is where we started. It's where everybody fell in love with the lads. The boys are back together.
Now,
And we don't know.
Here's the thing. Weirdly, by my body language, I'm like arms folded, like in a hum.
Yeah, and I'm all happy. I'm relaxed. You're like, I have to do this.
Fintan has wanted to do something for a long time. Not with me. I made that sound like he was
week.
like begging me, like, please, mate, please. But like, you've wanted to do a podcast, like football podcast for a bit, right? And I was then the one who said, hey, let's do a football podcast. And then, boom. So I may look like I don't want to do it. I'm keen. I'm in. The boys are back.
You are indeed. I think the first thing we should talk about, because the main purpose of this podcast for me is to see how riled up I can get you.
Yes.
So let's just talk about United against Brighton as the first game. You scored a goal after the final whistle had went.
Not really. Although, do you know what I did see was the Premier League app. The notification on the app.
The final whistle had gone.
Yes.
The final whistle went, and they went back out and took a penalty. Fergie time was like, let's add on 14 minutes. And now there's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer time where they'll just end the game. They're like, oh, you didn't win?
Round 2.
Walk the boys back on the pitch. We'll give you another
fight.
penalty.
Yeah.
Did you watch the game? Do you realize
did I watch
how
the
much
game?
trouble that you're in? I mean, listen, you are the fakest Manchester United fan I've ever seen. You went through your little rough patch of Moyes, Louis van Gaal. Benjamin Spragg didn't want to talk football. They win like 7 games at the end of last season. He's like, yo, Finn, you want to do a football podcast?
And then
they lose to Palace, and he was like, ooh, are we still committed to that podcast?
Interest over time post Fergie is just no. No, mate, don't be ridiculous. Of course, I watched the game. We are very, very bad. It's one of those, right? Losing one game in isolation is not necessarily a problem. Like losing to Palace, it's frustrating. But if we're losing to Palace, it just means that for the entire season, we're not going to challenge for the title. Like that's not like forget that. I had that in my head though. I
know you did because you're deluded.
Right.
Like you really thought you signed Fernandes. You got 14 penalties in the last 4 games of the season, and you're
justifiably so.
We back.
Justifiably so.
Back. I want to ask a few questions as a United fan.
Go.
You're obviously aware of the news that you've been chasing Jadon Sancho all summer.
Yes.
If you were put in charge, they were like, Ole out. Let's bring in that lad from Tetbury who couldn't hold a job down in Tetbury 17th division in the English football, but could do a job for United. He just didn't have the players or the money at his disposal. Do you take Jadon Sancho for your full budget, add the right winger, or would you reinvest in the defense? Where you look an absolute shambles?
We do look like a shambles. Luke Shaw in the first game, in the Palace game, I thought was very poor and just unmarked back post.
I think he's your best defender.
Yeah, he well could be, mate. He well could be. Because who's better? Because Lindelof is, I don't know what, and has never been consistent.
Stealing a living, mate.
Stealing a living. But sometimes,
Harry Maguire at 80 million, by the way, is the worst. Like, I don't think Harry Maguire is a bad defender. But at 80 million pounds is the worst investment ever made outside Fernando Torres for Chelsea.
Here's the thing about all of our defenders is on occasion they are quality. They are world class. And I think you can say that for all of them at times. Maguire has been excellent. You look at the Maguire in the World Cup, for example, and the threat that he was from set pieces going forward. And defensively, he looked excellent. He looked excellent, right? Maguire at United, £80 million is like money burned. Lindelof, on occasion, has looked excellent. But then he's just like shite for like 4, 5, 6 games.
He's reasonable, but
he's not world class. But he's solid. He's
world class. Like I can't give you world class for Lindelof.
Sure, but he's solid, passable defender. But then times he looks like he wouldn't get into my Tetbury team. Wan-Bissaka the same is like when a couple of games when he signed,
one-on-ones.
Just like no one's gonna get past him. But then like just it's not coming together, and something needs to be done. And Eric Bailly coming back into the side is not the answer because he has the exact same issue where some games looks like a world beater, and then 4 games he looks like he doesn't know how that his brain controls his legs. You know what I mean? He's
I
like
want
he's limbs here, limbs there. So I think we need to strengthen in defence. I think we've needed that since Foggy left. But
probably.
it's how long have we got left on the transfer window now? Like
October 5th, so like a week or so.
Are you gonna buy two very solid world class defenders in a week
it's
with
not
no prospect?
happening.
It's not happening. So
No.
So here's the question. So why is it not happening? 6 months ago, did they not think our defense is crap, isn't it? Should we get some players in?
Know,
why is there no movement?
Like they can, they did keep quite a considerable amount of clean sheets towards the end of last season. So maybe they just got a little bit of recency bias. I'm not sure, but
sure.
Like, they just
I think, you know what?
Could open. It could be the midfield as well, though. Like when you have Pogba, Fernandes, and an aging Matic, who did come back into form at the end of last season. I will give you that.
And looked good against Brighton, actually. I think he was one of our brightest players in the first half. I got no lights now.
This podcast.
We have no name for the podcast.
We have no name for the podcast. I had this light. He was like, "Get a ring light. It'll look professional."
Listen, mate. I just said that you've got a lot of shadows on your face. The last time we did a podcast, you were a fresh face. You had a nice hairdo. You looked like you wanted to be there.
Looked like I've been through a lawnmower.
Slept in 4 days.
Because I haven't. Have you seen United? So what I'm saying is,
last question before. Okay, you want to talk?
I want to talk more about the midfield. Matic looks good. I'm very bright now, aren't I?
There we go.
Yeah. Matic looked good, looked bright. I don't like Pogba sitting so deep. Also, doesn't look fit because I know he had COVID. I don't know where
back from it.
Fred sit in that deeper role. I think he's looked good there at times. McTominay has looked good in that role. Van der Beek could have started ahead of Pogba. I don't know why.
Okay, ahead of Pogba. Okay, I thought you were going to say like
not in that deep role, but like
yeah.
some sort of not Matic and Pogba. Very lucky to come away with 3 points. Result was a result.
Do you think Ole is the man? Would you stick by him? Ole at the wheel?
Yeah, because I don't think another managerial change is the answer. I think there are systemic problems within the club. It appears that are holding us back more so than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is. I think he's proved that he can get the team playing in the right way. I mean, the 8 games or so at the back end of last season, we looked good. We looked.
You were against most of the teams in the bottom half.
We were, admittedly, but like there was a belief and a confident play style about the team as well, like that I haven't seen in some time. If not Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who and like, is it really going to solve our problems? No. I just don't know why there is not investment in defense. I don't know why Sancho never happened or hasn't happened yet. Is it still on the table?
I think he might.
I have a feeling it might, but at the same time, it's not the way we should be doing transfers of it's not happening, it's on, it's off, and then we have a bad start to the season, and now like the club is presumably handcuffed where it's like they know they need to do something because the fans are already furious, and they'll probably end up, it's the same thing of just like overspending. Now Sancho's a very good player. Yeah. Can you even overspend on someone like Sancho because he's presumably going to be excellent? So whatever, spend the money, get players in.
All right, Benj, I know you're going to tease me.
Yes.
But Brighton have started the season off very well, so I did some digging. I went full hipster Finty. I looked into Graham Potter. Are you ready for this?
Go ahead. For what it's worth, let's just set up. Let me just set up how this podcast is going to work. Okay, I'm going to get angry about Manchester United and give some uninformed footballing opinions. And Fintan is like your football hipster. Fintan is your XG over ratio underperforming by 3.4% in the Belgian. Oh, in the Belgian third division, he banged in 14 goals.
Well, funny you talk about third division because Graham Potter, retired at 30, couldn't get a proper job over in England, went over to the fourth division in Swedish football. I'm going to try to pronounce this. Östersund. 7.5 years there. 3 promotions. Took them to the top half of the table, won the Swedish Cup, like the whole Swedish Cup, got into Europa League. They beat Galatasaray. They beat Hertha Berlin. They won a group with Atletico Bilbao, and they nearly beat Arsenal, right? He
nearly beat Arsenal. They nearly beat Arsenal. That's not an achievement.
That's okay.
I hear what you're saying. Okay.
It is an achievement, right? They wanted to put it. He's like 35, I think, and they wanted to whack a statue. No, I think he might be 37. They wanted to whack a statue outside the stadium before he went to Swansea, done a good job there, gets a job at Brighton, and now has them playing great football. Nearly beat Chelsea, should have beat United, smashed Newcastle, because I'm a Villa fan, for anyone who doesn't know, right? And Brighton finished 2 points above the relegation zone last year. So I'm looking at the teams coming up. West Brom, not looking great. Fulham, gone. We'll talk about it a bit more. But I was hoping maybe Brighton, West Ham, these teams. But I think Brighton are going to be a really good team this year. So maybe, it's hard to give you credit when you looked so shockingly bad. Brighton hit the post 5 times against you. They were absolutely all over you.
Yeah.
Your goals, classic penalty in the last minute.
It was a very lucky escape. It was a very lucky escape, and Brighton at least deserved a draw. I agree with you. The job Graham Potter's done, it looks very good because Brighton have no real right to be in the Premier League.
I'm going big here. You know when we first started chatting a few years ago, and I was just the biggest Raheem Sterling nuthugger in the entire world, and I was like, that kid going to the top.
Could I also just quickly,
Graham Potter?
Can I just quickly, in terms of predictions, we did World Cup coverage, and you said that Egypt would win the World Cup.
That was
the
a
Russian World
joke,
Cup.
mate. That was a joke.
But it's on record.
It's
on record. Go again.
I think Graham Potter is going to take a top 4 job within 5-6 years. Him and Brendan Rodgers are the boys that'll be running the Premiership in a few years. That's what I'm calling.
Okay, watch this space. He's done great. And you're right in that talking about relegation, just quickly, we'll dip into it as we're moving through some games here, talking points here. But I agree with you. I thought Brighton looked pre-season candidates, as most people probably did, and on the strength of the first few games. They'll probably be all right. They look like they're going to be safe, right?
I don't know. Yeah, they definitely do. All right, second game, Palace versus Everton. This was one of the games which I think is going to be a strong talking point probably for as long as we do this podcast. But in the last few minutes of the game, there's a header from the Everton player into the Palace defender's arm. But it's down by his side, basically.
I'll tell you now. And obviously we have a video version.
Sorry, I'm getting it confused with the Tottenham versus Newcastle. I actually think this one might have been kicked into his arm.
Yes, it was. And I know we have a video version, probably have an audio version of this podcast. Yeah. But I'll show you for the video fans, and I'll explain for our audio counterparts. Right? He's just standing like this, and that's me.
Hands down by his side.
Arms down by his side, team. Okay, not raised, not moved, just down by his side, and it just hits the arm. From
about what? 2 meters away? Max?
3 yards, 2 meters
so
max.
So you've got a millisecond to get out of the way.
Right.
Impossible.
Which brings us to probably the main talking point for this week, is that the game is gone, the game is ruined, football is dead and or dying, and it's being killed by a combination of bad rules and VAR stringently enforcing those bad rules. Now, I'm a big anti-VAR guy in the way it's been used.
It's so shocking. Just wouldn't have thought it. Progressive Benjamin Spraggy.
Here's the thing. VAR was supposed to clear up inconsistency, talking points, that it would be clear-cut. It's this or it's that. It's
if you
yes
watch rugby,
or it's no.
Right?
Yeah.
It's they almost never have to talk about the touchline ref.
Right.
They just don't. It's quick. It's beautiful. But the rules are a little bit more black and white. I would argue, a little bit.
I don't watch rugby. I don't want to talk about rugby ever again.
I think that's what they thought. It's like the offside rule, right? That's even annoying in football because they're if you're 1 millimeter offside and they're drawing these, they're hand.
It's like a math. It's with the protractors out. But that's pathetic. That's pathetic. It should never get to that point. And I get it. That's the letter of the law. But football, to me, and this is what separates it from a clinical game or a more clinical game, I think, something like at the NFL, American football, is NFL is like a stats, yards and inches type game. And it's a stop-start game. It's a pause-and-go game. And one play, next play, next play. Football is art. Football flows. Football is the beautiful game. And the way VAR is used at the moment makes it too clinical. It slows everything down. It takes you out of those moments, right?
I completely agree.
You'd be able to celebrate a goal. I find myself every time a goal goes in now.
It's horrendous.
I sit here like that. Is it in? Is there a check? Is it gonna?
Couple of games I even went to. So I was at the last game. I think maybe before this, everything went into lockdown, and there was fans. The cup final between City and Villa, And like we scored like a beautiful looking goal. The cross was pulled backwards. So it's like it can't be offside. Everyone goes nuts for about 10 seconds. And then there's this like PTSD from like goals that have been disallowed. And you had that moment of joy and you're hugging and kissing. And then next thing you know, they cancel it. So you just can't enjoy it. And I think this year with the letter of the law with this handball, where it's like if it strikes your hand, it's not even deliberate. It's really taking it to the next level where they're killing the joy of it. Like Roy Hodgson came out after this game. Poor Roy's probably too old to be going through this in the last few minutes of the game like that.
Oh,
that
Roy Hodgson doesn't need this. Roy Hodgson, bless him, does not need
this. He should be
this.
sitting at home with his missus, pension, feet up, giving out about it. He doesn't need to be on the sideline. Can I
just add here? Obviously, we're talking about Graham Potter. Roy Hodgson at Crystal Palace, safe in the Premier League every year. Crystal Palace, traditionally kind of a yo-yo club.
Of the season.
Beat United. I mean, he's for a manager that a lot of people kind of like to ridicule a little bit. I don't think he gets enough respect.
He got a tough time after Liverpool and the England jobs. And in fairness, I think he might be suited a little bit more to the style of football that's acceptable at Palace. Now they play good football from time to time, but like when you're like, I don't. England
he's in his comfort zone. I think I would agree that he's in his comfort zone. Like that's his wheelhouse. But he's doing a fine job. And you're right. Like the main thing is VAR this season. I think is being implemented better because they have the touchline referee. The problem at the moment is the rules that it is being made to enforce are absurd. And it's reached a particular level of absurdity because Roy Hodgson is saying that Carlo Ancelotti after the game is like agreeing with him, right?
Yeah.
And Steve 100%. Bruce,
we've seen it with Steve Bruce
in the game as well. It's like,
would you think it's ever possible? Because obviously, it's somewhat easier at this stage of the season to potentially do something that I'm going to suggest, where if they get a clearly contentious penalty that they would not be happy to concede, but then it's like, if the referee's not making that decision, can you really expect the opposition to make it? They just missed the penalty on purpose.
Like a Robbie Fowler.
They go full Robbie Fowler.
Yeah.
They just, gentleman's agreement, they just boot the ball into the stand, fingers up at the cameras. Just, we're not taking these penalties.
I mean,
they need to revolt
some way. The thing is, that's no way to run a game. Obviously, long term, of course, stupid. But the only reason you would do that is to send a message to the league, to the FA, people making these decisions that
FIFA.
Like this is not how the game is going to be run. And I was looking at it before we went live here, and it's about the governing rules are being set, and then the Premier League gives guidance on how these rules should be applied. And the new rules that have the new guidance for referees this season is taking out some of the verbiage about like non-deliberate and movement towards ball and things along those lines to bring it in line with La Liga and Serie A. They said last season there was something like 16 penalties from handballs in the Premier League. In La Liga and Serie A there was like 40 already. Something, and this season there's already been like 6 in the Premier League, and we're like game week 3. It's just, do you want every game to come down to VAR discussion, handball discussion, silly handballs? And as I said on Twitter, for those of you following on Twitter at Spraggy, you're basically creating an environment where skill sets within football become largely redundant. If you actually, let's say we're poker players. For those who don't know, we're poker players, right? So our job as poker players is to always look at ways to exploit a situation or exploit a in-game situation
to get an edge.
To get an edge. Now, if I'm a manager looking at the way games are being won in the Premier League, I'm saying, get into the box, flick the ball onto people's arms.
Right.
If they're down by the side and you're close, just flick it, hit it at the hands, kick it at the hands. Every cross, there's probably more value in trying to hit a defender's arm than there is getting like a ball into the box, percentage-wise.
If you're a professional footballer, you should be able to hit it a lot, right?
Aim for the arms. You could, if you were trying to max exploit this new rule change, you could engineer 2 or 3 penalties out of. I genuinely believe you could artificially engineer penalties like that by the letter of the law. And if something absurd like that starts happening, then the league are going to go, oh yeah, this rule is ridiculous. Yeah, we have to get to that point now.
No, for sure. I 100% agree. And obviously we spent most of this talking about the contentious penalty towards the end of the game. But just briefly, Everton, 3 wins out of 3, top of the league. Carlo Ancelotti is the Everton manager, which is still absolutely surreal to me. They signed James Rodriguez from Real Madrid. They signed Alan from Napoli. and they signed Decore from a relegated Watford, who had a lot of interest from top clubs. I think PSG and Liverpool were touted as potential destinations. So their midfield's completely changed. They have Dominic Calvert-Lewin up front, banging the goals in. Richarlison was subject to apparently an 80 million bid from Barcelona in January, and I laughed when they didn't accept that. It was like,
looks cheap,
I can't even remember what's his name that played up front for Watford. It's escaping me right now, but I remember they had like a 50 million bid from China in January, and like they didn't accept it, and then he just he just completely fell off the horse. Like, I don't think he scored a goal again for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
But do you think, obviously,
I would have
talk of a league title is absolutely premature and ridiculous, but do you think that Everton could be potential challengers for top four if you consider United to be a challenger for top four? Because they're looking like I assume you do consider United to be expected to be thereabouts for top four. I'm being serious, man. I'm real. I
expect Manchester United to challenge for the top four? Yes. Was I way more confident 2 games ago than I am now? Yes. Do I think Everton are challengers for top four? Absolutely. Why not? They've got a legitimately world-class manager in Carlo Ancelotti. I don't think anyone disagrees with that. Success everywhere has been, really. The signings, I actually did some coverage on Twitch of the Premier League games back end of last season, and I had 2 Watford games, and I don't sit down and watch 90 minutes of Watford particularly often.
Nobody does. Sorry if you're Watford fans.
Nobody does, apart from Watford fans. But Decore in those games looked really good.
Box to box.
Looked really good. Very, very strong. And, watching those games, he was the one player who really stood out. I thought, if Watford go down, like, he's not playing championship football. So I think that's a great signing. I think the James Rodriguez thing is...
It's mental.
Obviously, his stock fell a little bit.
He was the golden boy.
His stock has fallen a little bit,
but he went to Bayern Munich and his stock fell a little bit.
Sure,
I mean,
for Everton, games. And he started really well. Looks very good. I haven't seen much of Alan. They've gone from Alan Stubbs back in my day as an Everton
to the
follower to Brazilian Alan, and doing all the right things, moving in the right direction, as you say. When they signed Richarlison from Watford, I think they paid 40 million.
I think it might even be 50, but something outrageous. Again, I was
again, at the time, I was like, that is punting.
It was like when they signed Sigurdsson for like 40 or 50 million, and that was punting.
That was actually,
but it felt very similar. I mean, they signed Sigurdsson, they signed the guy from Ajax, I can't remember his name, but they just signed like all these like number 10s. I think they got Rooney in at the same time. Like, their recruitment, like, they have very rich owners.
Yeah.
And they're obviously like historically a big club. So who knows? I like seeing... Everton would be my second club. So
just as an aside, I'll tell you who else I really like at Everton is Dean, the fullback from
Digna or Lucas Digna.
Lucas Digna, whatever you say it.
We don't know.
I've seen a couple games he's played, and he looks very solid. I mean, they're just
big issue though. One issue. Little T-Rex arms and goal there, letting the ball fly by him every shot they have against them. Jordan Pickford is an embarrassment of a professional football.
How did Jordan Pickford go from being England's hero to this?
He was so overrated. He saved the penalty, and everyone was just like, "Classic sports personality of the year. We're going to win the World Cup." Then the absolute bottle jobs against Croatia, the most embarrassing semi-final performance that's ever been put into any World Cup. Score 1 free kick and then sit back. Jesse Lingard and Jordan Pickford in a team, and you think you're going to win a World Cup. It was the most embarrassing performance I've ever seen in any sporting semi-final ever. You just scored and shit yourselves.
West Bromwich Albion 3-3 at Chelsea. So next game, West Bromwich Albion at Chelsea. West Bromwich Albion pre-season, very Fulham-y for me. First of all, Fulham, get out of the league. West Brom, I thought they were with them, but 3-0 up at half-time, and then threw it to 3-3. I mean, but if you can take a 3-0 lead against Chelsea, there is something there. There's something to build on, maybe. All this means really is that if Brighton are overperforming and West Ham are overperforming and West Brom have got a hope, all it really means, Fintan, is that your beloved Villa are, for want of a more eloquent term, absolutely fucked.
We'll see. We can talk about Villa in a little bit. But what do you think that Lampard has to achieve when Roman Abramovich opened the checkbook for the tune of almost, I think, £250 million? There's talk of Declan Rice coming and surpassing that amount.
Yeah.
And because he is a Chelsea legend and because of what he did last year with no transfer windows, does he get a little bit more leeway and buy a little bit more time? Because Roman Abramovich has been one of the most ruthless chairmen that we've ever seen in the Premiership.
Confirmed.
And successful as well, because he's just been like, listen, your cycle's passed, we're chopping, we're changing, I'm investing, you're gone. Does Lampard get a little bit more time, or once you get this money, is it just like, yeah, unlucky, you need to deliver now? And should he be challenging for the league? That's what I want. That's kind of what I want to know. What you think?
I actually had Chelsea to finish third. Obviously because of
where did you have United?
Fourth.
Okay. If you had second, we would have had to have words and maybe
Fourth.
end this podcast. We'll continue.
I actually had Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, United. Just because of the obviously the investment, and just in general, they had looked good. And I thought they were going to look better than they have to start. Obviously,
it's a lot of players to settle, though, right?
It is a lot of players to settle. There's always that danger. And I think this is
the young players as well.
The danger as well with having a club legend as manager, because the whole Chelsea successful model when they were winning Premier League titles was that managerial rotation and not being afraid to be like 1 year in, out. Avram Grant won the Champions League, right?
No,
or Di Matteo won the Champions League.
Di Matteo
won the Champions League
as a Champions League winner a few months before.
See you later.
It was mental.
But I think Avram Grant made a Champions League final and got dismissed.
I think he lost the final to United.
Right, yeah. Correctly. But like, there's this whole managerial merry-go-round, which traditionally...
Mate, I'm pretty sure Carlo Ancelotti, right? Like, am I getting confused?
Ancelotti was there, for a bit.
Yeah, and I think you won an FA Cup and a league title, and next year, like, didn't start the season great. And
right.
See you later.
So if that is your model, that you're happy to move managers out, and like it's been working. The problem is when you bring someone like Frank Lampard in, there is that sentimental attachment from fans. There's probably that sentimental attachment from what I hear between Abramovich and Lampard as well. And I think like that Lampard-Terry thing, right? So do you now put yourself in a position where that previously successful model of being able to dismiss managers, you have this sort of attachment where if things don't start well for Frank Lampard, do they now cling on too long and it's going to sort of halt?
Do you think it's right, though? Do you think
that progress?
I understand exactly what you're saying, and it's like they've had a successful model, but like obviously there's been times when managers have got sacked and it's been outrageous from Chelsea and other clubs in the Premiership.
Sure.
Do you think he's just spent too much money to have that settling period? Like, do you think like he just had like £250 million is so much money? Admittedly, they got money from Hazard and Morata. They sold both of those players and didn't spend anything. So like, it's kind of like they've had 3 transfer windows at once, right? So it's kind of like they've spent 80 million. It's not as I don't think it's quite as drastic.
Yeah, it's like they've like saved up their whatever.
Yeah.
And sort of blown it all in one go.
It just seems dramatic because I think it might be the most money ever spent in a single window.
It puts a lot of pressure on. It puts a lot of pressure on the position, right?
And get within like 10 points of Liverpool if they're likely to win the league. Like, I don't think you can finish 3 points behind them again. Like, you can't be like struggling to top 4, not making 70 points easy. Like I don't think that's acceptable.
So what's your point here? They've spent 250 million. They've got that Frank has to finish.
I'm just wondering what you think, because you're kind of talking from a Chelsea perspective and Abramovich, and is it right that they'll potentially change the model? I just want your answer. Like,
my answer is Frank Lampard will not be in a job by Christmas.
Oh wait, you think for a sack?
Yeah, because they're like the investment that's been made. There has to be a result that comes with it. Obviously, there's a lot of pressure put on the position when you spend that money, and they just don't look like a team that's going to finish third. They look right now like a team with the strength of Everton and Leicester and whoever else around them. They look like a team that's going to end up 6th or 7th.
It's insane to me. Now, I don't think Lampard is the man at all behind the signings, but I would imagine he has quite a bit of input. They obviously signed a lot of attacking talent like Werner, Havertz, and Ziyech, probably butchered that, but the right winger who came from Ajax. Like, that's an amazing front three.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of money. But they already had, like, don't get me wrong, I don't think Tammy Abraham's fit for leading a team that's going to potentially challenge for the title, as someone who watched him every week as a Villa fan.
Agreed.
I don't think that Hudson-Odoi's quite there yet. But they had young attacking talent, and they just don't seem to have... They've obviously splashed out 50 million on Ben Chilwell left back, and they've splashed out on a new goalkeeper after breaking a world record for a goalkeeper last year or 2 years ago. So that's like a boatload of cash. But like in center back, like it's just a free signing of Thiago Silva, and they're like just going to put they're just going to throw whatever beside him. Like I just think
Do you know what they don't
You've
have,
got a
mate? Do you know what
short-
they don't have? They don't have a Drogba, a world-class striker who is a leader as well. You know, like this is good young talent, but Drogba was like
The most overrated player, Premiership.
You're an idiot.
Did I say that out loud?
You're an idiot. They don't have a Drogba who is like
worst goal scoring record than Olivier Giroud. Continue.
They don't have a Drogba, and they don't have they don't have a John Terry
Big
Lampard.
game player, give him that.
John Terry Lampard Drogba spine. You know what I mean? They
Yeah,
don't seem to
Ashley
have
Cole,
that like
Peter Cech.
identity.
That was one of the greatest.
It was a great Premier League team,
teams of
but
all
that
time.
you need a great Premier League team like that to win the league. And if you're spending £250 million, you better believe you're going to try and challenge for that league. But they don't have that. Like there doesn't seem to be like that natural leadership column of
agree.
someone who's
Do
gonna
any
when everyone else.
Premiership clubs have that anymore?
Yeah, I think they do.
Who?
Liverpool.
It's lacking at City.
Liverpool,
It's
Van Dijk, and
I would say,
Jordan Henderson.
I would say Liverpool.
That's why you
are
win
the
leagues.
Only team. No, but I would say they're the only team with a settled spine that is like as good as it is, and also Henderson's only recently been like accepted as.
Well, they'll never be
very
successful. He
pivotal part.
runs funny.
Good old Alex Ferguson, what a man. But yeah, anyway, I think Chelsea will gel.
Top four? Yes or no? Quick, go on the record.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, Burnley, Southampton.
But I don't know. Well, I have wrote some notes here, and
It says, does anyone give a fuck in my notes?
I did write these notes, and I just want to be honest with, like, if you have like a United against Burnley, we'll throw Sean Dyke a bone. We'll mention how he's done a good job shooting budget, not this, not. But Burnley,
Gravelly voice.
Listen, does Danny Ings potentially keep scoring goals? That's all I want to know out of you.
That's the only thing. I'll tell you how I know that Danny Ings is doing well, because Southampton took the lead in this game. I don't even know the final. What was the final score?
It was 1-0 to.
There you go. And they scored early, and I looked at it and said, "Oh, was Danny Ings scored again?" Checked it, and it was Danny Ings. So
there we go. That's our input.
Danny Ings is a very good forward, and he might score 15 to 20 Premier League goals this season. And if he does, Southampton will stay in the league. And if he doesn't, they might be a little bit shaky, but we'll see. And that's all I care about that. Sheffield United have lost 3-3, no goals. They've lost Henderson back to United.
Against Leeds.
They've against Leeds. Newly promoted Leeds, who look very exciting, very good. But if I'm a betting man, back 8 or more goals in every single game that Leeds play, because they score 5, but they also concede 3 or 4 every single game, because apparently the defense
their first
is
2
trash.
games were 4-3, one for them and one against them, against Liverpool and then I think Fulham. They did just win their last game 1-0 bench. They just won 1-0, 88-minute winner, Patrick Bamford, who I actually cannot believe. I think he's got 3 goals in 3 games. He's the kind of player that I thought, you know, that those strikers that they can do it in the Championship, but then again the Premiership, and they're just shocking.
It's your Darren Huckabee.
They're just terrible.
It's your
Darren Huckabee. There's lots of them.
There's lots
Scott
of those.
Hogan that played for Villa. There's another one. Nugent. Dave Nugent. He'd
Quality.
just go rip up the Championship. He'd come up and he just wouldn't be able to get a touch of the ball. Many players like this. I thought he was going to be like that, but he's banged in a few goals. He's keeping their 30 million record signing Rodrigo out of the team at the moment. But I want to know, like, are Sheffield United, did they overperform? Because my first mention, are you ready? You told me that I'd be a nerd. But your boy, Dean Henderson, no goalkeeper outperformed the expected XG against them more so than Dean last year. So I don't know how many goals Sheffield United conceded, but we'll say they conceded 50 goals. They should have actually conceded just over 57. So he like outperformed it drastically. And now he's gone, and they signed a keeper for 18 million, Aaron Ramsdale, who is flapping at the ball. He was in a relegated Bournemouth side. I don't see exactly what they see in him. Aston Villa were linked with him, and I was petrified that we would splurge so much money on a goalkeeper.
Sure.
18.5 million, by the way, is something like the 8th most expensive goalkeeper of all time. So like, it doesn't sound like that much in recent times with how much money has been spent on players. But like,
for a keeper.
We signed Martinez from Liverpool for 20 million, and that was the 7th most expensive goalkeeper ever. So like 18.5 million for a relegated goalkeeper is just madness. Unless you're Jordan Pickford and you get bought for 30 million. But yeah, I think Sheffield United might regress this year, like a little bit.
I can see that, but hey, let's admit that there's probably going to be some regression, but massive overperformance in the first season, so regression natural. Absolutely. I think to be expected, because any progression would have seen them like top 6.
Yeah, challenging top
which
6, pushing top
is
4.
Unrealistic. For Sheffield United at this point, staying in the league, excellent achievement. Premier League football, excellent achievement for like.
Just to solidify and get the payments more so, and then you can move up and start paying more for wages. Like that's the cycle that Aston Villa are currently in, where we just can't really go crazy because if we get relegated, you got financial fair play,
Sure.
no
So
fans in the stadium.
I think ultimately Sheffield United, given the quality we saw last season, I think Chris Wilder as well is like a.
No, he done an amazing job.
I don't think that he's going to get in a let that side deteriorate to the point where they're gonna go down. I think they're probably gonna flirt with it. I think they're gonna be in a lot tougher of a season, it would appear, than they were last year.
Potentially. They got robbed against Villa though.
3 games is 3 games.
We beat them 1-0. They had a red card against them, which was so harsh. I would have been fuming. But I honestly don't know if they've recovered ever since Aston Villa turned off Hawkeye when we were threatening to go down. Just switched it off our end of the stadium. They're just like, no, that ain't on today. Ever since then, they've just been like playing the victim.
Free fall.
They've just been like, oh, we were going to push for top 6.
Well, do you know what's funny about Sheffield United?
We're suing them.
Do you know what's funny about Sheffield United is they had that thing before, right? Years ago with when they went down and Tevez and Mascherano at West Ham. And they were on some independently owned third-party contract. It's like they should have been in the league, and then they got relegated. And it's like they've just been mad.
Tevez scored a goal that relegated them.
Yeah.
Sure. So I also think I'm going to make some bold predictions because a lot of my friends are Leeds fans and they hate Aston Villa. Aston Villa have these rivals that Aston Villa don't care about, like Newcastle fans hate Villa and Leeds fans hate Villa, but we just don't really care about them. But so it hurts me to say it, but I think potentially that Leeds will be regarded by the end of the season as one of the best, if not the best, promoted team ever. I think they're like a really solid unit. I think they came up 1 year behind schedule, whereas Aston Villa came up 1 year ahead of schedule. Like we got promoted when they probably should have got promoted and done 1 more year in the championship. So I think they've signed really good players. Marco Bielsa is
Beelzebub.
Seems like a bit of a maverick, little bit of a madman. He'll definitely be spying on the opponent somehow still. I've no doubt that he's doing it. If he has to fly planes instead of drones, I think he'll do it.
He's in a glide. He's currently spotted in a glider, floating around the UK.
I think I read that potentially United looking at him as a potential manager if Solskjaer was to leave. I don't think he would leave. I think he signs 1 year contracts at a time max. And he doesn't discuss it. Like he only signed his new contract, I think, like 2 days before the season started because the Premier League's quite strict, and like they actually have to have like a written contract. Whereas in the Championship, you could roll it into the season and just have some lad on the touchline who's not officially getting paid. But he just had to get it like sorted. But like apparently Leeds weren't worried about him leaving.
Right.
Like they were confident he was staying, but they just hadn't come to. So what he does, which I think is quite interesting. I know we're going off the boil a little bit, but he negotiates a payment that he gets and he distributes for his whole staff, and he's apparently quite generous. So like to sign him, like you have to sign his whole staff, and you don't like get individual contracts with his
so
staff,
you
right?
get one contract and then he pays everybody out of that contract.
He pays everyone what he wants.
Is he is he insane? Is he this like mad genius of football?
Well, Pep Guardiola says he was the single most influential person in his career. And like Bielsa like plays it down and he's like, I don't see anything in how Pep plays football in like comparison to how I play football. But apparently like 1990s, like Bielsa was the first person to ever like really start the pushing the forwards, trying to close down and like playing that really aggressive pressing football. So it'll be interesting to watch. I think they're going to be potential top halfers, which is a wild thing to say.
I can get behind that. I think the top half of the league is actually really competitive. In terms of Liverpool, City, United, Chelsea, Arsenal, Leicester, Tottenham. Everton, Tottenham, Wolves probably falling off a bit, but Leeds, that's a very tough top 10.
That's tough to break into top 10.
It's really tough.
If they break into top 10, given the money and given like the strength of them teams that we've just mentioned, Crystal Palace have also had a good start. Like I do think top 10 this year, if they play it with attacking football, they would. I think Sheffield United last year are arguably one of the best promoted performances. But yeah. I think, like I said, maybe some overperformance, maybe some rub of the green apart from the Villa game going their way. So I would argue that I doubt there's many Sheffield United fans listening, but I know they had a few of our decisions go against them last year. And
stay mad.
Rub it green.
Stay mad, Sheffield United fans. So Sheffield United got to improve quickly, otherwise they're going to find themselves in a relegation battle. Leeds,
No
I think
goal
we
scored,
both
3 games
agreed, not going to be in a relegation battle, are they? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. I think they're going to get spanked occasionally, though. I think it's going to like the odd erratic result.
They'll against some of the top teams. I think they'll get absolutely.
Yeah, like City could spank them 6-0 or something. Like,
sure.
Or they could also lose 4-1 to them. But anyway, we are moving on to Spurs versus Newcastle. The most controversial game of the weekend. We don't really need to go over the handball rule again.
Same thing.
Game ruined, this one was worse.
Game's dead.
Yeah, game's done. But this was like the first game where Mourinho kind of implemented an attacking strategy that would be a throwback to the Pochettino era, where there was a high press and lots of chances. And like people kind of argue that Mourinho is done and dust.
What happened
football.
when
you
say Mourinho attacking football? Did they have 4 players in the opposition half at one time?
No, mate. They like Son smashed the post twice. Harry Kane should have scored. They peppered the Newcastle goal. It should have been 4 or 5-0 at halftime.
Yeah,
like legit.
I did hear
that. Not like hyperbole, not exaggeration. Like it should have been 4 or 5-0. It wasn't. It obviously ran to the last minute. There was a terrible penalty. Mourinho, with his classic quotes, was like, "I'm not giving any money to the FA.
I'll give it to charity." That's Mourinho, mate. That's what I'm saying. I don't care if people say that Mourinho's tactically, 10 years, out of date or whatever.
Know if it's true.
I don't know if it's true. Even if it is true, let the guy have a job in Premier League football forever, please, because he's such value, right? Ultimately, now, obviously, one club might have to take a sacrifice at some point to have him as their manager, but this is an entertainment business. He is the most entertaining manager in the league by a mile, mate. That's why the guy poked someone in the eye after a game, mate. After a game, on camera. He knows the camera's on and just goes up, grabs the guy in his fucking eye. How can anyone not want Jose Mourinho involved in the Premier League? I mean, obviously,
do you think, right?
I don't hear people say that, but the guy, I love him. That's what I said on Twitter. United should never have sacked him. United was infinitely more. I would watch United games if Mourinho was in charge.
Kind of hoping
just for the post-match press conference.
Do you think that he was supported at United? Because you were rolling out Valencia as your right back. He couldn't get you to sign a single centre back. I know he got Pogba, he got Lukaku. So he did have big signings, but your squad overall, I don't think was competitive enough. And he got you as a second in the league. He won the Europa League. Did he win a League Cup? I think potentially.
Van Gaal won the FA Cup, right?
He won 2 cups his first year.
Yeah.
And then claimed 3 because he also won the Community Shield. And that's a classic Jose, just walking around with the 3 fingers everywhere. But do you think with Bale coming back, they could be an attacking outlet that are fun to watch and challenging and up there? Or do you think he's going to
maybe? I mean, Son is class.
Jump off to China. Son's class, Kane's class, and now on the right-hand side, you will lose Mora and you'll add Bale.
Yeah.
And he's signed a few defensive reinforcements. He's apparently in for the centre-back from Inter Milan for about 50 million. I can't pronounce his name. It's Skinner, I think. Possibly. I've probably butchered that. But,
Frank Skinner.
But I'm interested to watch it. I would love nothing more than a 3-year cycle for Mourinho that ends in a Premier League title, a retirement from Bale, and him just 2 fingers up at Pep.
I would love that. Listen, of all the other top,
I don't know. I'm not predicting.
You're not predicting that. You'd love it. I would love it too. Of all the top 6-7 teams, Spurs are the least offensive to me, for whatever reason. And
because when you're a United fan and Fergie comes out with his autobiography and Roy Keane says,
Lads,
maybe it was Roy Keane's autobiography. Yeah, the talk before the game just, it's Spurs. Out you go.
Yeah.
So disrespectful.
But yeah, I mean, I love Jose Mourinho. I'm a real Jose Mourinho fanboy. I love his, and I want to see them do well because I enjoy his arrogance. The only thing I will say, if we can just touch quickly back into Gareth Bale. Gareth Bale looks like a very I'm going to play MLS in 2 years type of player to me.
Do you think so, man?
Yeah.
I think so disrespected.
I know,
the main
but the guy loves golf.
Alongside Ronaldo.
The guy loves his golf.
He loves, nothing wrong with loving golf.
He hates Real Madrid. Clearly did not want to be there for a long time and was making a mockery of the club to a point. Fine.
Do you think he didn't want to be there, or they also just didn't want his wages on the books and Zidane didn't fancy him? Because anytime he got a chance, scored a few goals, Zidane would just drop him.
Sure. Right. I mean, listen. He scored that insane goal in the Champions League final. Won 2 Champions Leagues at Real Madrid.
But he started. No, he won 4 Champions Leagues at Real Madrid.
Too many for me.
4 Champions
Overdoing it.
Leagues.
He did?
3 in a row.
Oh,
He won
yeah.
3 in a row.
Yeah, so, I mean, listen,
And he was the main man. And when they won their first one after like the 10 years, like he was the one who scored the goal.
right.
Oh, no, sorry, excuse me. Sorry, that was not. I think the one that was the 10th was when Sergio Ramos actually scored the.
The second
scored
one
the
was where he
header
came
last
off the bench
minute.
and scored the overhead
Yeah,
kick in that,
no. That was the last one against Liverpool. That was the 4th one.
You're right.
That was the
So
fourth.
anyway, he won a lot
Yeah.
of Champions League trophies. Very, very well done. I don't think it's going to be the same Bale that left Spurs.
No, of course not. He's not as quick. He's not as explosive. But
Sure.
like, he's more experienced. He'll be loved. If Mourinho doesn't have him playing right back, we have a good chance to see a very exciting.
I'll
Spurs
just go ahead
team.
and say I think he's going to be a flop, and I think he's going to be in the MLS in 2 years. He's going to be. He's going to be at Inter Miami
not.
with David Beckham playing against the Seattle Sounders and Brian McBride still up front or whatever. I don't know how that league works.
All right. Moving on to probably maybe your favorite result of the weekend. It was Manchester City's 5-2 loss to Jamie Vardy's having a party. Leicester City, biggest, best big game player of all time. A hat-trick.
Jamie
Like,
Vardy
destroyed.
should not be a thing. He
What do you mean he shouldn't be a
He
team?
just shouldn't be a thing, mate. He's just. It's the weirdest success story of all time. I just don't understand it. But every season, I think, the very first season where he had that amazing season, like his first really good Premier League season, I was like,
Yeah, he broke the record for the most goals in a row in the games.
Sure, it's like, oh great, he's had a good season,
mate.
and now he's what 42.
I think he's like 39 or something.
He's
No, I don't know. He's 32, I think.
He's still absolutely rapid, bangs in goals. Is the celebration with the arms, like the guy's a maniac. Clearly, he used to play for Fleetwood, right?
Yeah, no, it's madness. Loves it. Like he just like before games. I think it's Red Bull and tobacco. He just whacks it into him. He's just like not listening to any of the like science.
In an
that's, like,
era of
progressing at a
sports science, right? Back in the day, it was classic. You know, it was like that Arsenal team, like Paul Merson talking about, like they
a
were
few pints the night before
the FA Cup final. They'd be, whatever.
I think it might have been Tony Adams or someone who was like, "Oh yeah, I just go grab a McDonald's before the game and stuff like."
Right, you don't do it anymore. This is the era of sports science. This is the era of Cristiano Ronaldo
every
looking
little
like
age.
an absolute, like there's not
Greek
an
goddess,
ounce of
for God's
fat on
sake.
him. And then Jamie Vardy's tanked up on Red Bull, sprinting like 400 miles an hour and scores like 30 goals every season. And he doesn't show any signs of stopping. He's scoring hat-tricks against Man City. The goal that comes across in a little flick behind, like that finish is just like unbelievable. He's got more dimensions to his game than just raw pace, but his raw pace undoes a defence that Pep has spent £400 million on in 4 years.
Absolute.
And they can't
insanity.
defend just a maniac from Fleetwood Town who's like...
Like just a lad that if he wasn't playing football, like he'd be the kind of lad who'd be on the sesh for 4 days at the weekend.
All sorts.
Like,
If that man was not a
"Fucking
footballer,
man,
all
go
sorts
home
of
to your
havoc."
missus, like, do you think that Pep is a myth?
Yes.
Like, do you actually?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah,
He
and
spent,
probably.
like,
Do you know what, mate? And probably for no other reason than I'm a United fan, he just tilts me, and like his whole demeanor just tilts me. Everything I love in Mourinho, I just like all the characteristics in a manager that's like fun for me in Mourinho, and I love him because he's arrogant and like just like he's an asshole, but it's so like hilarious, like his like arrogance and his cockiness.
I think.
And, like,
You know what I
stabbing
think
people
it
in
is?
the eye. With Pep, it's just annoying. He's just annoying. He's an annoying bloke.
I think that Pep tries to be something he's not, and Mourinho is just unapologetically
He's
himself.
that. Yeah.
That's like Mourinho is that person, whereas Pep like tries to be like the smug, I'm above all this, but like he goes home and
Inside
it's,
he's
like, smashing
raging.
walls.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but obviously he's done amazing things at City, right? Your
Has he?
camera quality has gone absolutely terrible
Has
on
he?
my end. Is it okay on yours?
Oh, yeah, it'd be fine.
All right.
People aren't here to look at me.
He has broke the record for the most points ever accumulated in a single Premier League season. He won back-to-back leagues. He's probably brought the best out of the Liverpool team. He's raised the standard of football, I would argue. But I was looking at it, which is quite interesting. The players that were most integral to his success: Sterling, KDB, Aguero, Company, Fernandinho, Silva. Didn't sign any of them. And then I just looked at this list, which is, I think, equates to somewhere in the region of like £800 or £900 million. And it's like Rodri, Mahrez, Laporte, Ake, Torres, Cancelo, Mendes, Stones, Walker, Sané, Silva, Ederson, Jesus, Danilo, Gundogan, Bravo, Angelino, Pedro, Borja, Zinchenko. how many of them are like absolute world beaters? Walker's been incredible at right back. Sané's my favorite player out of all them, and he's at Bayern Munich now.
Mahrez
I
has
guess
done all right.
Ederson has been a very solid goalkeeper, but he had Bravo for like 25 million a year before and just like tossed him aside when it didn't work out. Like Mourinho couldn't do things like that, you know. But I don't think he's a myth, but I also laugh that like Bayern Munich won the treble before he was there, and then Bayern Munich have just won the treble. I think he's a perfectionist. And when he gets it right, it looks amazing and it's beautiful and it's probably the most.
He had it right at
Barcelona,
Barcelona, didn't he?
Yeah, but he also had Lionel Messi at Barcelona, like in his prime.
Yeah,
and
but you look at Barcelona. Barcelona have Messi now, and they're not Barcelona.
Messi's 33 years old now, though.
Yeah, but Messi's still Messi, though. Messi's
they
still
also
class.
had Xavi, Iniesta, Piqué in his prime.
Right, but yeah,
it's
true.
a different genre. He didn't sign any of the players that were successful at Barcelona.
Confirmed.
But
he had them playing the best football we've probably
absolutely
ever
no
seen.
doubt about it. So I don't obviously I don't think he's a myth for what it's worth. I think he's obviously been an amazing coach, but I think you could argue that he has underachieved at City given his performance in the Champions League and given the amount of money that he spent is so much more. Like net spend is higher than every other club in the Premiership since he's been there, and he has 2 titles out of 4 years. So,
well, I think the lack of European success is the big one for City. The fact that
and not even close, right?
Yeah,
not even close. Like last year, losing to Lyon in the quarterfinals, like come on,
shouldn't be happening.
Not okay.
Love to see it. I'll say that. Absolutely love to see it. And I had Man City as favourites to win the league, and that's gone. That's gone. Yeah. And if we touch on that quickly,
why everyone was
touch on that quickly. Who is going to win the league?
It has to be Liverpool,
or Leicester.
It has to be,
or Everton.
I don't think. Do you know what? I'm happy that there's just been like this rocky start. I do think it actually is a lot down for all of the teams that were quite deep in European competition. And the reset hasn't done them any favors. Like Bayern Munich got smashed 4-1 at the weekend. Dortmund lost. United looked shaky. Chelsea looked shaky. Liverpool looked pretty shaky against Fulham against Leeds in their first game. So I think like we might see a transformation in the next like 6 weeks where the top teams start smashing everyone. But last year I felt it was like that top 6 was going to be the top 6. Like they were just kind of going to start pulling away. And I hate that. Like I'd love to see like a Leicester happen again, or
I think it will, mate. I think this season, like I said, that like Arsenal looks solid.
Liverpool got 100 points last year and got 99 points the year before. City won the league with 100 points that year and got like 98 points the year before.
We're not seeing that this year. We're not seeing those tallies this year
because
that top 8, that top 9 is far too competitive for anyone to just steamroll through all 8 of them. Everton are way stronger. Arsenal looks stronger. Leicester looks strong. The teams like Liverpool, whoever it's going to be.
Don't forget about Aston Villa, mate.
Like they're just not. But even teams like Brighton, Palace, like away at these, like they're not gimmies like they have been, and those top 8 they're not gimmies. Like I think we see a competitive league. I think we see Liverpool probably win the league if the way things are. Man City don't look like the team I thought they might be. Chelsea aren't going to be there. United are way off. Leicester, Everton look strong, but they're Leicester and Everton. They probably still have a little bit too much fragility to really challenge. So I think we see a very competitive top 8. Spurs aren't there. Bale's coming in, but I think they're still a little way off it. We see a very competitive top 8. We see a short of winning points tally. Liverpool probably still defend successfully. We do have one more game, the West Ham Wolves. There's a little bit to go there.
I think this is a kind of a nice way to wrap it up with the way you've kind of talked on how the league's going to pan out. Of course, we can touch on that Wolves had a bit of a shocker. I think they're going to be good. West Ham had their best game in, I think, 18 months when David Moyes is on the sideline with COVID. Is that a coincidence? I would not suggest that. But we were planning on looking forward to the games ahead, but I think we've probably been recording for a lot longer than we initially had thought.
I think it's fine. Coming just under an hour.
Just under an hour? Okay, it's not too bad, right? So we can have like a quick look at the games coming ahead. We won't go too deep into them.
Well, let's just touch West Ham Wolves briefly. I mean, we have a little bit. West Ham, I thought they were going to go down. They still might.
I still think they might.
This 4-0 result is obviously, I think, anomalous. I think Wolves will be okay. Probably not.
No, absolutely.
I thought pre-season maybe that top 8, but I think, they've lost Doherty, they've lost Jota to Liverpool, right?
They signed Semedo, and then they signed. This was the craziest signing that I've seen, apart from when United signed Bebe many years ago. But
from the Homeless World Cup,
40 million euro for an 18-year-old forward from Porto, who has played 12 times. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and accuse anyone of anything, but like you see like these like speculations that Jorge Mendes or George Mendes, I'm not sure which way he pronounces his name, has like too much of a say on the transfers and like is taking nice little chunk of these signings. But like 40 million euro for an 18-year-old from Porto who's played 12 games to replace Yada and have him as the main striker. Like, do you not think that is a bit mad in like a world where transfers are insane?
Yeah.
Like 12 games.
Yeah, I do.
12 games.
So we live in a world where
40 million
Birmingham City
euro.
retired Jude Bellingham's shirt, and he.
That was. Listen, obviously, as an Aston Villa fan, like I think that club's an absolute shambles and embarrassment at the best of times. But that was the most pathetic decision.
That was the most pathetic decision I've ever seen. But you know, this
it wasn't like a 1 to 11 number though, right? It was like something.
I don't know what. But the guy had played.
It doesn't
like,
matter.
A season for him. He was 19, whatever, however old he is, 17.
But anyway,
well, good luck to this
like
lad. I mean, 18 years old, 12 games, 40 million. It's a big price tag. I don't think
I read like generational talent, but I'm sick of reading generational talent. That's like the new buzzword. Like you hear generational talent, and I think Ronaldo, Messi, like that. Of our generation,
yeah. Now it's
Ronaldo,
obvious to the point where I think Adnan Januzaj.
Yeah, like he's coming true, and they were definitely talking about him.
Now he wouldn't get a game at Coventry.
He went on a little weird David Moyes tribute tour at one point. Like he was just like straight to Sunderland, went from United, Sunderland, and then I think Moyes was at Real Sociedad, and he was just straight over there. It's just like Adnan, relax. But anyway, do you want to give quick predictions?
Yeah, we can do some quick predictions because then there's something to hold us accountable. What I would say is we do want to hear from you guys as well.
Absolutely.
Let's just do so. You know, if you have feedback, obviously this is our first episode. There's no script. We're uninformed. There's no segments. There's no this that. It's just here's the games. Let's talk some football.
But if people do enjoy it, we will invest in having a little bit more of a professional setup. Benjamin Spraggy.
We'll do better. We'll do better.
49
please.
seconds. We will. Just let us know what you want to see. Do you like the format where we talk about all the games? Would you prefer we just take talking points such as like the VAR, Mourinho, Pep, whatever it is? Like, would you prefer we do it like that? We also are open to potentially doing it live on Twitch so that there's an audience interaction if people would like that. So let us know in the comments what you would like and hold us accountable for the predictions that we are about to make.
Yeah, and also
football games.
Here's a good one for engagement, Fintan. Because they love, for the algorithm, we've got to satisfy the AI robots at YouTube to push this in podcast to the featured page. A good talking point. We spoke earlier about strikers who are too good for the Championship, but not good enough for the Premier League. You're talking Darren Huckabee back in the day, your David Nugents, your Patrick Bamfords, your whoever. Let's leave that up to you. You get in the thing. Who's too good?
Striker ever, but not good enough for the Prem.
There's your talking point.
The best ever. Let us know.
Comment on what you want, but I'm interested to get some more of those names.
This is going to be a fire round, Benjamin Spragg, okay? You have 5 seconds for each answer, and I'll be quickly behind you.
Go.
Fulham versus Aston Villa.
8-0 Fulham.
I'm going to go 3-1 Villa. Liverpool versus Arsenal.
2-1 Liverpool.
I'm going to go 2-2. Chelsea versus Crystal Palace. These are next week's fixtures. Those last 2 games were from tonight.
Tonight we're recording Monday afternoon.
Sorry.
Chelsea, Crystal Palace, Chelsea home win 2-0.
Everton, Brighton. Oh, sorry, Chelsea. I'll go with a scrappy 2-1. Everton, Brighton at home for Everton, of course.
3-0 Everton.
Oof.
Despite Brighton's
After
bright
big
start.
boy talks about Graham Potter. You're
No
just gonna
statue
go
for you,
Mr.
Mr. Potter.
Like that. All right, I'm gonna go with an Everton win as well, but I'm gonna go with a 4-3. Leeds United at home to Manchester City.
5-1 Man City.
I'm gonna go with a big score as well. I'm gonna go with 4-0 City. Newcastle at home to Burnley.
Don't really care. 1-1.
Poor Burnley, man. I hope nobody from Burnley ever
Burnley,
watches
just
this.
get them out of the league.
Honestly, Burnley shouldn't be in the league.
They've been in the league for 12 years or something. Get them out.
Get them gone. I don't even want to guess on that one. Leicester City at home to West Ham.
Jamie Vardy to score 5. Leicester 2-0 winners.
I'm going to go 4-1. There's lots of goals in the Premiership, which we didn't actually touch on. I don't understand what's going on and why there's so many goals.
I've ruined your webcam for the last bit there because I brought the fixtures up. Carry on.
It's fine.
Professionalism is, and that's what I want.
Southampton versus West Brom. again.
Just don't give a shit, mate. Danny Ings to West Brom 0.
Wolves versus Fulham. I'm going to say come back for Wolves. I'll go first. 3-1.
3-0.
Arsenal, Sheffield United. I will go 2-0 to Arsenal. Actually, that's a tough game for Sheffield United after their 3 losses.
Should I tell you who does have tough games coming up, by the way? West Ham. They've got like Leicester, Spurs, United,
run,
Arsenal, Chelsea, City, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Inter Milan. Like it's like an obscene run. Arsenal 3-0.
Man United versus Jose Mourinho. Behave.
4-5. 2-1 United win.
I'm gonna go with a Tottenham scrappy 1-0. Aston Villa versus Liverpool.
You had Spurs 1-0. Remember this for next week's episode.
Harry Kane penalty. Harry Kane penalty.
Villa Liverpool. Look at this one. The predicted first versus predicted 20th. I'll take Liverpool 10, Aston Villa -4.
I'm gonna go with a 3-2.
He could barely do it. He's like, he could barely predict Villa to lose.
It hurt my soul.
He's like,
I think we might beat them, but I don't want to come on to be the biased, obnoxious.
If Jack Grealish has a really, really good game.
All right. Thank you very much for listening to the first episode of the unnamed Fintan and Spraggy.
Well, it's called the Fintan and
podcast.
Spraggy's Football Podcast, but we'll do better. We will do better. We can be better, and we will be.
We will. We look forward to hearing the feedback, of course, and we will be back. We are going to try and record it once per week to start. Who knows in the future? There might be watch-alongs. Benjamin Sprague losing his mind watching United play would be the greatest entertainment ever seen on the internet.
We're down to do more football content in general, aren't we? We need a name for the podcast,
absolutely.
probably.
Any suggestions? Do you know what? Help us with the algorithm even more. Just whack suggestions of names.
Well, help us in general.
Oh.
Okay, you can find us on Twitter if you want to tweet us at Spraggy, at Easy with Aces. If you liked this, like it, share it, thumb it up. We're going to do an audio version of it. The video version's here on YouTube if that's what you're watching. If there's an audio version, if not this week, then eventually
might
take a bit of time. But we'll be on Spotify and iTunes and everywhere you find podcasts and things like that, won't we? And
we will indeed.
And we wanted this first one just to be a very conversational look at football last week and start the Premier League season. But we'll look to see where this lands and what the future of the podcast is. But can I just say from a personal note, it's great to be back talking to you on a more regular schedule, Fintan. And I look forward to arguing with you about football over the course of the Premier League season.
Well, the last time we got together and done a podcast, we lasted the full 6 episodes. So let's at least aim for higher.
We'll beat 6 episodes. I think we'll do 1 a week for this season at the minimum.
All right. Sounds good. All right. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.